Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps lots. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are after market close on Tuesday, April 26th. We're going to take a look at SoFi today. So SoFi having another down day. I mean, to its, not really its credit, but to not take too much away from the overall market's influence on this, like NASDAQ was down almost 4%. NASDAQ was down almost exactly the same as SoFi. So for, puny little growth stock, I guess relatively recently de-SPACed SoFi, to basically keep pace with NASDAQ losses, um, unfortunately, is better than we have seen performance-wise over the course of several months, right? So, that said, obviously, we're down here like well into the single digits now, and things are just not looking. I mean, I was gonna say not looking great, but it's such an understatement. No continuation. We were looking last week at this potential for a curl. I said at that time it's just a couple of candles, so like don't get ahead of yourself. We're talking about the wrestling with the 739 level, and then that key $7 psychological level. Gave that up pretty easily, to be honest, on a minus 5% day when it opened at 703, got up to 711, and then fell down to 648 before closing at 660. Just pretty insane. And you see the volume staying, pretty high. You see this much lower volume back here, right, toward the beginning of the year. And then that volume picking up like mid to late January, and then really kind of sustaining this level for much of January, and coming down a little bit now in April, but keeping pace pretty well. That the pace right now is still above the bulk of the volume that we saw late last year and very early on this year. So that selling pressure is a real thing. I mean, I had said, I guess, a few months ago now that my biggest fear was not necessarily the inflation and global international conflict and stuff like that. My biggest worry was the tapering that was going to happen, that the Fed was going to be reducing its balance sheets. And I'm not saying that that's the wrong thing for them to be doing, but the prospects of that pulling out buying pressure that we had seen for quite a long time in the markets, and just dips getting bought up, and just these like intense rallies toward the end of the day, those things just kind of falling by the wayside when the Fed's no longer stepping in to say like, yeah, I'll buy all these things from you. And so that sort of lack of liquidity in the form of buying pressure, it's I honestly think that that's a lot of what's happening here. But who knows? I mean, there's a lot of factors going on, right? So, but if that's the case, the reason I'm saying this, I mean, I don't see how this starts to get better before like mid to late summer, if even then. If that is truly one of the big issues at the center of all this. But time will tell, as always, and we'll see what happens. But I would just say, like, be aware of sort of like what you're up against here. And as I say in the beginning of the video, do your own homework and make your decisions based on that. But we're not in a good spot here. I mean, there's nothing really new to put on the chart. We're well below this downtrend resistance. We're obviously well below $7. I think at this point, it's just psychological levels. I think it's and probably because the price is so low, you probably get slightly smaller psychological levels. You probably get like 625, 625, 650, like, these sorts of sort of familiar, roundish feeling numbers. So I'll put those on here for better or worse, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, at this point, might as well declutter this a little bit. And if and when we need these price targets, we'll get back to them. But I guess the other thing to mention, because I said I would, I put a stop loss on my shares last Friday, and I think on Friday it got hit. So I'm out. Doesn't mean I won't get back in. Doesn't mean that I'm going to stop covering SoFi. I'll keep covering SoFi. My hope is that there is, at some point down the line, a really good deal to be had and a long-term position to start from a better cost basis than those of us who've been in this thing since IPOE and have just absolutely been slaughtered. So, I don't know what this means for the future of SoFi. Obviously, we'll see with earnings coming up and guidance, and a lot of things will come down to, I think, the earnings calls that are going to happen. And we'll see what happens during those. And then also, I just continuously thinking of sort of like any potential positive prospects of the future of SPACs. I mean, SPACs have just been an absolute slaughterhouse, from PaySafe to Lucid to SoFi, to Space to Open Door. I mean, just like go down the list. It's just a brutal moment for any bulls, and I stayed in as long as I could, and at some point, like I had mentioned in the videos before, it was just the potential upside for SoFi, it was just too long of a time horizon. I don't want to be buying into SoFi and letting it go down 50% and then saying, oh, well, in 5 or 10 years, I'll be glad that I held these. I would rather just, like, I watch it enough, right? It's not like I set it and forget it. I do these videos all the time, so I'm pretty aware of what's going on. And so I would rather just take positions in other stocks with that capital and benefit from those stocks that are actually going to go up, or I can at least play them to a profit. And then when it makes sense to re-enter SoFi, do it then. And if that means that then I end up holding for long term, so be it. But doesn't mean that I, displeased with the company. Doesn't mean that I don't think the company has good prospects. I'm still really hopeful that they can execute on the vision that they have, like I've said all along. But it's a big ocean to boil. So we'll see if they can do it. I certainly hope they do. I think it would be a cool product to have in the world. I think it would be a good change. And I'm, the stock performance doesn't always reflect the company and the vision, and sometimes it takes a long time for those things to accumulate into the price reflecting either the realization of that vision or the understanding of the prospects that company has based on the vision and its ability to execute on it. All right, as this seems to go lately, Soapbox has now been fully boxed, and it's worth clipping it here, I think. But I'll continue to cover SoFi. It's always been an interesting stock to me, and we'll see what happens. But rough time for the bulls. So I hope you all are hanging in there. I hope that your trading week is off to a good start. Mine is not. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.